Hey everybody, Texas Trucker here, Lance's Performance Shuttle on Mopars.com. If you were waiting for the day that I'd clean them out again, today is not that day, but it is Monday and we're trying to make it better by doing a KC tool haul. So, you know the drill. Any order that you place, you get a bit of thanks. If you exceed $75, you get free shipping, and if you exceed $100, you get the German Tool sticker pack. Currently, the bit of thanks still shipping as a number 2 bit. But what we have going on here is kind of a smorgasbord. This is across at least 2 orders, maybe 3. And we got Knipex, Gedore, with Stahlwille, Wera. What more could you ask for, right? And I guess what we're going to do, this might actually have to be dictated by what I can get to without everything beside me falling. So on that front, we're going to go a little change of course here from what I thought I was going to do, and we will go with a Wera item. This is going to be, once again, timestamps and links down below solely for your convenience. Still, after all these years, I make nothing off that. So, part number WR023339 is gonna set you back $11.35. Kind of reasonable for what it is. You can go with a set on these. It's kind of one of those things you probably want a guinea pig before you do that. And in my case, this is the guinea pig, I suppose. So it's relatively new as well. I will tell you that what Wera does with these, obviously, you know, it's a T-handle, and if it looks like a hex key, it is. It is metric, and thanks to their Take It Easy tool finder stuff, you can see that this is 4mm. And so some of you are probably like, 4mm, what? Mr. 60s and 70s muscle car here, what do you need that junk for? Does it cross over with something, you know? Do you have stuff that's been installed incorrectly? This is actually needed. This is something, a little bandsaw that we picked up. It uses little 4mm grub screws all over the place. And this one has something that others don't. So I just grabbed this specifically for this video, and it got knocked over by the sticker pack. That's what happened. Alright, so I'm thinking you should see this video before this one, so this shouldn't spoil anything. But this was brought in immediately. This is from Gedore. It's their 4mm hex key, and if you note something special on this one, it's got a grub screw. However, it comes off. This is a ball end, alright? So it allows me to get kind of a funky angle, which honestly on the pulley is sort of needed, which I didn't know at the time, so that worked out great. But notably, having these side by side, you can start to see some differences. Number one, both are going to be, you know, your typical L keys, hex keys, cranked, whatever you want to call them, where we have the ability to have the length, or we have the brute strength, right? And the difference in the handle design is important, because you might love this and hate that, or you might hate that and love this type of a thing, right? However, kind of making this somewhat unique for me, clearly we've got different lengths. Off the top of my head, I do not remember what this is on the Gedore. I'm guessing it doesn't tell us, but it's either going to be 100mm or I'm guessing 125. Let's just bust this guy out, and if we see a 5 at the end of the tape measure, yeah, right there. So if that's 125mm, what's this one? I'll save you the trouble. If you see a 6, we're at 150. So that's going to be 25mm longer, an inch longer, whatever you want to consider it. That's not the selling point. It's also not that it's not blackened. If you note, ball end, and if you're thinking that doesn't look like it's ball end, that's because it's not. However, again, let me showcase a little grub screw. It's easier to see because I have some overspray on it, but you put it right here. It'll hold pretty well, especially with the ball end catching, but it's going to drop. Problem with tiny grub screws, especially in metric, if you lose that, it's going to be a nightmare to find one that size in stock. Now, SAE we could probably do, but metric, you know, you probably might not have that problem across the pond, but over here, in the middle of nowhere, rural America, good luck with that. So, what this has right here, it's going to be essentially the same as our Gedore. However, this end, if I spin it, let's just zoom in now, shall we? If you see right there, and it looks like there is a ball. Come on. There is. And that is going to be essentially what Wera's retaining function is, right? Case in point, if I can pick... Oh, no. Okay, that's when it gets dicey. This is a textbook reason why you would want this. You'll see I'll struggle to put this on, but then it goes on. I don't want to fling this too hard, honestly, because I need this, but you get the idea. If it was going to fly off, it would have already been back in the B-body gauge cluster there, so that's the big selling point here. Number one, we get to try out the handle, which I'm not going to lie, it's not something I'm super thrilled with. It's a little undersized in my opinion. Like, I get that this is small, it's a grub screw, granted, I mean, you should have seen the leverage we had to put on that thing to break her free. But like, it's too small. And then the way this is oriented, it doesn't fit my hand that great. Now, aside from that, the holding function, at least here initially, beautiful. And I do love the fact that this is easily and clearly labeled. I don't know if they do color coding on these, or if this is a situation where maybe the blue means holding function, and you would just have 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. Really not sure on that. Note, there is a hanging hole, which is great news. You've got the Wera branding. Don't get me wrong, it's comfortable and functional, but it's just a little undersized, in my opinion and for my preference. We'll probably do an expanded video on this. This one's just, it doesn't have near the depth on the handle, but it's got wider handle, if that makes any sense. Just ever so slightly, but something about that just fits in your hand better, at least my hand. So your mileage may vary. So essentially, same thing, but we've got two unique ends, one being a ball end and one being a holding function. Plus, we have an extra inch of length. So while they are similar, we didn't exactly like duplicate our buying, so that each one's unique and brings something different to the table, and that makes us feel better. Ultimately, we might continue expanding this out and kind of see like, hey, which brand do we want to bring in? I have a stand, it's from Wiha. I never pulled the trigger on their T-handle drivers. I think metric would be red. I'm turning around making sure the SA is yellow. And I'm sort of, I'm debating what to do here. So Wera does have their own stands, but like I said, they might not be for everyone. It's going to be a love it or hate it type of a thing. The sets are a pretty good buy with Wera, and sadly with the holding function, I just haven't gotten to use it on a hex key long enough to know anything about it. Wiha's Magic Ring I've used pretty extensively, haven't had issues. But for, like I said, $11, even if it's a one-off item that you need for something specific like this, I think it's well worth the price, especially, again, tossing in the holding function, being at that price point. Those are made in the Czech Republic, as best I know, so that's another win there. Now, moving on from that, which I did not intend to do first, I guess we'll just kind of go in reverse order here, because it's easiest for me to get to this next item. This is from Stahlwille. And you're thinking like, oh, that's going to ratchet up in price. Yeah, you're correct there. This is their part number 6623. They are 160 millimeter stripping pliers. And if you're curious what the price point on these is, it's spendy at $104. And we're like, $104? Why would you do that? Well, I didn't. These were on Tool of the Day. I think they were over 50% off. And that was the time to strike. Why do I technically need these? Is there some specific application at hand like we have with those two? Absolutely not. This is just a situation where I wanted to try these. I'd seen them years ago, and I'm not paying $104. If this was going to be like, man, I need wire strippers. Yeah, but I've told you a million times, my favorite wire strippers to date are still the el-cheapo ones that you can get for like $9.99 to $19 to $24.99, depending on whose name and colors are on them, right? I swear by them. I've had one pair that I've had, man, since I was like 15, 16, 17, and there's still nothing wrong with them. They're still pulling wires apart for me. And I just thought, you know what? I want to try these, and this is the time to do it when they're over half off. So, I I was very excited about these, and I had some wiring that I had to do, and I'm not gonna lie, I pulled these out of the bag and used them. So it's like I tell you, I always try to not do that. I want the tool to look clean and make it, if I get it dirty, it makes a bad impression on you. If it's like the head is filthy, just doesn't look as good, like, $104, I'm not paying that. So I try to hold myself back sometimes, like I buy this stuff because I need it and I don't have time to wait for a video to like showcase it in perfect condition. You could not tell that I'd use these. I probably spent like 10 minutes with them in my hand actually doing real stripping work. This is 16 gauge wire, okay? And if I come in and I throw these down through here, I tried, I was giddy about this, and I wanted to see it in action and everything. And I just, for the life of me, it's one of those things, it's just not, it wants to work, it wants to do good. I just don't get it to do what I want it to, and it becomes a source of frustration. And I'm like, man, I would be better off with my little el-cheapo $12 pair. And that's where we're at. I don't know, in full disclosure, this could be designed and intended for something different. Very well possible. But for what I'm trying to do here, which I assumed they would have worked, I mean, the blades, it looks like they're grabbing them beautifully. There's nothing that would make you think like, oh, that's never going to happen. It'll strip it, but I have to sit here and play around with it. And then in this case, we actually stripped the wire and broke it off at the same time. So don't believe me? There it is. So I don't know. That's why I didn't pay full price. That's why I waited for tool of the day. Now maybe they do better on solid wire, maybe they do better on larger wire. I don't know, but my honest intention was like, sweet, I'm going to try those out. I was building a couple of harnesses at the time, and I thought, you know what, let's do it. Tool of the day coming through. And not going to be my option here. I'll continue to try them from time to time. Maybe they break in, maybe, like I said, if I ever have like solid wire, these would be a sweet little setup. But for stranded wire, like you would use in automotive stuff, I'm going to say you could take your money elsewhere and do better. But like I said, maybe they're intended for something different, and if that's the case, then it'll still be a decent purchase for me because I don't have anything that would be intended for the same thing. So as is, yeah, you roll the dice, your curiosity comes up, and sometimes it's like a super win and sometimes it's kind of like a yeah. But the good news is I love the handles. They're super comfortable. It's a great length in my opinion. That was the other thing. I didn't really have strippers that were like designed with this ability to just go in, right? Everything I have is like super, super old school in that regard, where this is the wire I'd be coming in with this profile to strip. Same thing, my el-cheapos, we have to orient it like this. Sometimes, especially if like it's an in-vehicle or an in-harness deal, you got like 6 foot jumble of sensor wires or something, you sort of need the ability sometimes to just kind of pull the one lead out and go to town. This would be awesome. Again, maybe I'll play with them and get a little bit better, but right now kind of not quite what I was hoping they would be, sadly. So sticking with the automotive theme, I guess, that we sort of just set up, let's get this out of the way and throw these down. And you think, hey, KC Tool doesn't have Wiha anymore. Well, they have a few things, some bits and some leftover odds and ends. And this is not one of them. These would have been probably flown off the shelf when they clearanced everything out. This is some Wiha auto pliers. And you think, auto pliers, what are you talking about? Well, we come in, we release this, they do that. And you think, really? Like that seems like a gimmick to me. What's the point, buddy? I don't know what these exactly, I don't think they're intended for what I'm doing, but I use these for spring clamps and they work amazing, in part just because of this giant opening here, right? So typical situation, you don't have problems with like heater hoses and fuel lines and things like that, but when we start to deal with radiator hoses, that's a much bigger setup. And if you note, we're basically clearing the 3-inch mark. It's almost dead on 3-inch capacity there. And what that means is if you've got 2, 2 1/4, 2.5 inch radiator hose, and you've got the spring clamp there, these suckers will actually get down around it and bite. and it works super, super good, in part because you don't have to sit there and use two hands. You can kind of have it set up, and then you can just grab, and you can start ratcheting, sliding the clamp back. If you're curious, you know, like if you come in, you just basically set them down and it'll lock in place. And you store them this way, right? So they don't just take up insane amounts of drawer space with the handle flopping off towards the sky. So, you're probably saying to yourself, great story, but how does that relate to me in this video? Quit wasting my time. Your videos are too long already. Not sure many of you would say that now. I think we've weeded out the people that look for 2-minute videos. But the reason I bring that up is I don't remember if this was tool. Like I said, this is multiple orders. That's why, you know, I'm like, oh, tool of the day, tool of the day. I don't remember if this was tool of the day, but I kind of think it was. And this is from Knipex. It's a very exciting thing for me. It's their part number 8501250. This is currently listed for $63.71. And I'll tease you by dangling the bag and the pliers there. So, if you didn't know they were pliers, spoiler alert, they are. Alright, this is it. You're thinking like, oh, you got the, you know, the self-locking ear clamp plier thingies, right? Finally, it's about time. You're going to love those. No, this is the SmartGrip. So, basically, number one, if you are thinking like, oh, that's their, you don't like that smooth plastic handle from them, this is like a unique handle, and I think it's probably because they can't dip them, because this mechanism must be pre-installed through the handle or something. So it's not textured, it's not dipped. It's kind of like this Wiha one. It's just sort of like a hard after-the-fact, probably slip-on type of a thing, right? And what's happening here, though, is the same thing. If I close down there, you see it's going to spring open a little bit more. The one thing on these, and I have used these a lot, is sometimes when I want them to like spring open all the way, they kind of don't. Like, see, it doesn't go all the way down. Sometimes it'll like sort of stop in that area, and it's like super annoying. But minor complaint, you just kick them the rest of the way. But this is like way springier, which again, that could be a good thing. So this capacity, I don't think it quite looks as big in the jaw. And it's not. That's the one thing that worried me. It's kind of maxing out around 2.5 inches. If this design, and maybe they have like something bigger than 250s, 10 inches in that case. Maybe if they have like a 12, it would do it. I don't know. But I'm not sure that they have this in any other iteration. I'll actually need to look into that. But there's going to be a point where sometimes this may not clear. And again, why did I buy these? I was thinking of radiator hoses, right? The spring clamps in particular. But it'll be handy, obviously, for anything like a heater hose or something. We got plenty of opening there, and then I just kind of go to town. I want to try now for the first time and see if we can lock it in any position. And it's looking like we cannot. That would have just been, oh wait, it just did that time. So what's the deal? Does it cam out? Okay, so that did lock. If I touch it though, it resets automatically. Case in point, we're gonna lock there. Are we? Let me see. Let me pull this up so I can play with it. So open is to the down end of the handle. So if I just want it about halfway here. It seems to do it sometimes, but not every time. Yeah, I don't know. But I do think it's going to come in handy. It was sort of like the Knipex version of that, in my opinion. I know they're not intended for what I'm doing, but I wanted to try it. I do like how springy and consistent this is. If this, and it did when it was new, to its, you know, total credit, but this is very consistent and springy all the way. I just wish I had another 1/2 inch there. So that's what that is, though. It is the Knipex SmartGrip pliers, and this may be something some of you are totally unaware of that they have. So I'll play with those maybe a little bit here and maybe update the video before we take off. Coming in next, though, we've got something else from Knipex, and this is their part number 2871280. And you're like, wait, 250 was 10, what's 280? Well, essentially 11 inch. So what would be 11 inches from Knipex? I'll give you a hint. They are a repeat offender, and what they are is right here. So, these were not tool of the day, but they were on sale. I tell you all the time, check the clearance, check the sales. You never know what's going to be there. And these would typically retail for $54.60. I want to say we were like in the $34 range, somewhere around that price point. And if you're like, okay, well, if you already have them, why did you get them? These are going to work. They're going to be stupid handy for me all the time. You know, like whenever I have to do anything extended reach, this is going to be an upgrade, and I'm excited about that. I'm not going to lie, I kind of think the 45-degree ones would have been better, but they weren't on sale, and these were, so there you go, right? Eventually, I'll hopefully catch the 45s on some crazy sale or tool of the day, and absolutely, I've been happy enough with those that I will bring those in and use them at work as well. I typically like to do the comfort grip, 2-component grip on the Knipex stuff. These are not offered in that, probably in part to the handle design, but I've got to say, I used, I think, the 45-degree pair immediately. Those suckers were awesome for disconnecting fuel pump connections. So they sort of won me over there, and then I bought the straight pair, used the straight pair quite a bit, and I thought, you know what? Hats are a really good buy, and I think I'm going to like having them at work. So here they are. Coming in last but not least, we've done it again. We've got assorted Gedore Sockets. That's right. True story, I nearly botched up and ordered these again. That's why there's a couple of tool hauls ahead of this, but I thought, you know what? This has the Gedore Sockets on it. It's going first. Why? I like to populate socket pegs with them so I can see what I have and what I'm missing as we try to build out these sets. And when you have them in a drawer instead of up on the socket organizer, it gets confusing. And case in point, I mean, I had an order ready to go and it was going to be submitted. It would have been submitted, but it was a weird deal. The seasonal sale actually ended before midnight. Like, you know, I'm kind of a night owl. And sort of last minute as well, and I just assumed the seasonal sale would like go on into you know, midnight, like tool of the day. I was like somewhere in the 10 to 15 minute range before midnight, and it was gone. You know, I went to check out and it was like, something in your cart has changed, you know, refresh it, blah blah blah. And I'm like, what's the deal? And the price went way up. And I was like, whoa, something did change. What was it? And then I realized the item that went up significantly in price was the seasonal item, and it was not the seasonal price anymore. And I thought, well, that's not good. And so I backed out, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to take it out of the cart and re-add it. And I went and clicked on seasonal to get back to it, and I saw all the burger stuff. Burger? I'm not quite sure on the pronunciation yet, but the landscaping stuff, the new seasonal. And I thought, oh no. This can't be happening, and it did happen. The moral of the story is, you know, if you want something on the seasonal, maybe don't wait until the very last day, 10 minutes to midnight type of a thing. You know, like maybe the day before type of a deal. Just looking out for you, in that essence. But luckily that happened, because I would have had these 4 sockets duplicated, and 2 of them, actually 3, well, 2 to 3, would not see a whole lot of use for me. So what we have, I'll just run you through it and then we'll showcase them. These are all going to be Gedore D30. What does that mean? It means 3/8 drive chrome 12 point. We've got a 7mm and an 8mm. Each one of those was $13.94. We've got a 13/16. That would get occasional use, right, for $18.28. And then we have a 15/16 for $18.79. Actually, I'm not so sure that the 7 wasn't like way cheap, like one of those clearance price things. But we'll go ahead and pull these out. In fact, this 13/16 might have actually been clearance priced as well, because I think that bag looks pretty old. just throwing that out there. And let's see here. I've got an old box cutter, because the Cutix is across the shop. Both active Cutix are across the shop. Task force to the rescue. Said very few people, but I'm currently one of them. So I really, really do like these sockets, and when you got some of them, this was not an intended thing, but then like so many of these were on the clearance pricing that it just sort of became like a, you know, we're like halfway and, you know, 3/5 of the way to a set. Maybe we should just do it. So this again, 3/8 drive, 13/16, 12 point. These are beautiful. The knurling is actually noticeable. It's not just like decorative. It's like, whoa, that's actually functional, which you many times don't see. My complaint would be I like my sockets stored like this. Business end up ply crud in there, doesn't jump down into a tray. Ernst, the MTS socket holders I like, they're all oriented like this, and you think, well, what's the big deal? It's nothing major, it's just 13/16 is upside down to me. I would say the same thing about Icon, I would say the same thing about Snap-on. Similarly, I would praise Wright and Proto because they orient it in the manner that I like it. So 13/16 is one of them. This big honker right here, you already ought to know, that's going to be the 15/16, my beloved 5/8 hardware. And just, you can see it even better, obviously, since it's a larger socket. 3/8 drive, chamfer, everything I look for in a socket. Minus that, the stamping is actually really good. It's just a shame that it's not oriented how I would personally prefer it. So they just do a fantastic job on these sockets. There's a set I don't really talk about much. That was my big experience with Gedore Sockets. It's been great to me. So right here, the 7mm, it might not see much action, but again, pretty solid little price right there. Again, 12 point chamfer. It's just, like I said, we got so many of those at such a great price. I couldn't say no type of a thing. 8mm, if I can get this guy out of here. I think this catches me up. There might still be a couple on back order. I think that's how some of these actually came. You know, what I do when I'm working on the sets, I'll have like a little shopping list I make. If it's in stock, I'll throw it on to work towards free freight type of a thing, right? Like I'd rather pay 13 bucks for this socket, you know, and get free freight than not get the socket and pay like $11.95 in freight or something. So that's my advice to you. I practice the same thing I preach. One of those weird people that operates that way. They're just stupid good little sockets. So especially the clearance pricing, you just kind of cannot go wrong there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out 2 catalogs. I'm going to try to investigate this, and I'm going to check in on these, see if they have any other size offerings so I can update the video, and then we'll call it a wrap. Welcome back. Interesting thing, in both catalogs, I flipped right to the page with Stahlwille and 1 page away with Knipex. How? I don't know. But it happened. So I don't have any proof, but it happened. So right here, this is an older catalog, but I think it'll suffice for what we want to see, and that is just that the SmartGrip plier, that is it. You got the 10-inch, 250mm, and we're done. So, adjustment to the workpiece is automatic with the Knipex SmartGrip. Just grip the pliers, handles, and squeeze. It's that easy. So again, it is a really good mechanism. It's just a shame that we don't have a larger size offering. Maybe that's something that they'll do here coming up. They claim, since we're here, we'll just go into all the details. Ideal for frequent changeovers to workpieces of different sizes. Automatic adjustment for one-hand operation for both right and left-handed use. That's right, you lefties, southpaws. Good to know. Access to the workpiece is good due to the slim dimensions in the head. We'll take a look at that, actually. Self-locking on pipes and nuts. No slipping off the workpiece and low hand force required. Gripping surfaces with special hardened teeth. That's approximately 61 Rockwell. Box joint design, high stability because of double guide. Pinch guard, that's good to know, prevents operators' fingers being pinched. Locking lever for space-saving transport with reliable closed handles. And chrome vanadium electric steel forged, multi-stage, oil hardened. Once again, that's your only grip option. Sadly, it's also our only length option. Now, the page I opened to is right here, and these are the fancy. This is what I'm talking about when I say spring clamps, this type of a thing right here. I don't typically have to deal with the Euro style stuff, but I do plan to add those at some point. It's just they're expensive, and I'm thrifty, so I sort of wait for tool of the day. Or like a clearance thing, you know, just I can get by a couple more years or weeks or months or whatever it might be without them, because I haven't had them my entire life. But on that front right here, again, opened right to these, and this is what I want to show you. We've got the 6623. If you want a sticker shock Okay, go pull up the 6624 with Stahlwille. You're going to see a lot of their stuff that says special alloy steel. Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's very special because the price goes up like crazy. Sometimes, like maybe you're just trying to get like a specialty wrench, something one-off, like I don't know, 1 3/16 double offset type of a thing. If there's like a couple extra letters at the end of that for special alloy steel, the price will go insanely high. So always be leery of that. Again, I'm not quite sure what the selling point is, but with this 6623, that's what we've got. For wires from 0.5 to 5, again, I wish they had, SAE equivalents, but I did research that before I bought these, and it was totally within range for what I would be doing automotive-wise. Self-adjusting cutter hole for cutting wire or stranded wires. Again, I'm not having good luck with it right now. I did want to highlight these. I'd never actually seen them online before, those cable shears. They look really good. And then also, where was it? This, they call them top cutters. I always call these pincers. But man almighty, the reason that's intriguing to me, this little pair back here particularly, they're 160 millimeter, and that's the size of those. And that would be, I think, a really good handle size. Sometimes with my channel locks, I absolutely love those things. It's probably the best bang for the buck you could ever have. I do run into situations where they're longer, and if I had something about this size, like, see how that fits your hand? It's not like objectionably small, but it's also not like catastrophically large. And you do want leverage with them too, so I wouldn't want it like smaller than this. I think like 125 or a 5-inch would be like as small as I'd want to go with that style, because I'm pulling staples for the most part with them, sometimes nails. But I think that would be a really interesting pair of pliers to look into. That said, I know a lot of people don't get Stahlwille pliers. VBW is, behind them, but I really do like their grips. Everything I've had has been, this is really the first disappointing pair, and it might work well on something else. I'm trying to see what happened to that wire. We'll try to give her another go here, but it was kind of mutilated in it. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to offset this. I'm not even going to center it and see if we can maybe get better bite or something. Let me come way back, actually. I can't really squeeze any more than I am. And if you can kind of look down the head there, let me try to get you a good view. Like, see what I'm saying? Like these blades, sort of, you see them raising up here and here. That's where the wire's at. And I mean, this is full-on death grip, man. And it's one of those things, if I just release here, it started what I would call an incision all the way around the jacket of the wire, but it's not quite through it. And I don't know, man. Like I say, you sort of have to then work the wire like I'm doing now. And I had a couple of strips that I was okay with, but I just spent so much time getting to that point where my cheap ones just, they do their job. So right here, I am pulling that back ever so slightly. And this one might actually strip, but it's like, I don't need to invest this kind of time with something that costs that much money. So right here, oh man, it's just, I don't know, maybe this is kind of old cable too. It's new, but it is old. It's not like the best stuff I've ever used in my life, but I don't know. I'm very glad that was not a full price purchase. The saddest thing is I love that size. The 160 is like super good. And again, this is going to be unique. I don't have anything like this here at the house. The ones at work, they're similar style, but they're like blade style, and the blades are gone. They're still there, but they're like gone, not sharp gone, And I thought, you know what, that's kind of an interesting deal. It's a slim head. I'm going to try it out. And I did. And I don't know that I would recommend it to you. Everything else here I'm pretty good with. But like I said, it's really sad because that size is like perfect. And I do love the handles on it. It's got a lot going for it. It's not working for me. So I'll play around. I'll keep them in the electrical box. And if I've got something I'm not like super crunched for time, I'll pull it out and see maybe it'll strip something better, maybe different gauge. That's 16 or 18. I'll try slightly bigger, I'll try smaller, I'll try like more supple wire, I'll try solid stuff if I ever mess with any again, and maybe we'll find something where it works. But it's a shame because I really, the form factor, I guess is how we would advertise and surmise that, is like really good. So kind of unfortunate on that front, but yeah, that is it. We picked up the Knipex SmartGrip. Again, if you love this, I would really, realistically, I think something they could do, I mean, just even using this as standalone, not doing like clamps like I'm planning to do with it, just like standard, you know, like pipe fittings, for example. I think a 180 or 7-inch, and I think a 12-inch would be really good additions across that line. This is not something you wouldn't want to like, ooh, got to sell the EDC 4-inch, you know, to everybody. Don't do that. You know, make a 7-inch and a 12-inch and call it good, right? But yeah, some of you, like I said, probably have no idea these existed. Again, it does look like the pinch guard is in full function. It does actually have a slim head. Well, it's not like insanely slim, but it's certainly scaled down a bit, which is cool. Might help you out. You can kind of gauge by the mohawk there what they've kind of reduced it down to. You can see the box joint is very sharp teeth. I've pinched myself for the second time. But the main thing here is just the mechanism is very consistent on going all the way open, which is what you want with something like that. So pretty happy with everything. Again, I love that form factor. I just wish that it was working for me a little bit better. If you know what I'm doing wrong, maybe I'm an idiot, I don't know. But it's not wanting to strip the wires I've got, so we shall see. And I had like really good, I was using like GXL and TXL stuff over there, so this is a little older, the gray stuff I have, but I mean, I didn't have success. I did finally get it to strip, but it's like, the time you invest is ridiculous, you know, so it's a shame on that front. Maybe, I don't know, maybe one of you will be like, oh, hey, you know, I had those, had the same problem, here's what you're doing wrong. And tell me, because I would much rather be like happy with that and know I've got, you know, a pair that I can come in from the front side and go to town with. But holding function, cool. These prove themselves. They were on sale. They're going to work. We should get pretty decent use out of this. And again, if you... I know people don't like that these are made in Vietnam and stuff, but like if you can catch these on sale, you know, like sub $29 somewhere in like the 20-ish range, I don't know how you can go wrong with them. So same thing here. I do believe these were tool of the day. I was pretty excited, so I kind of think they must have been, but solid little pickup. And again, slowly building out that Gedore set. So if you got thoughts, opinions, experiences with any of this stuff, let me know. Maybe you've used the Wera holding function stuff for 6 months and it all falls apart. Maybe you've had it for a year and a half and you love it. It's the greatest thing you've ever seen. Maybe you're like, hey, you know, if you don't like that handle and think that one's better, you need to check out this brand. By all means, tell me. That's what the comments are for. If you can share your personal experiences firsthand, always the best. And that'll help somebody else out. If you've used the SmartGrip, what are you using them on? How long have you had them? Do you agree that we should have a 12-inch iteration? You know, open the jaws up a little bit more. Do you use them so much that you wish you had a smaller pair? Maybe 6 or 7-inch, you know, to get in tighter spaces with them. Let me know on that front as well. But I think that pretty well covers everything. So I'm going to get these beloved Gedore sockets to their final resting place so we can populate that thing out and I can keep tabs on what we're missing and what we need and what I have duplicates of, so on and so forth. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Most importantly, I hope you have yourself a fantastic weekend. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment. If you like multiple things I do, I encourage you to just subscribe, get it over with, ring the bell, and maybe, just maybe, if you jump your charger across the creek, YouTube will notify you. We got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Texas time. And like I said, your thoughts and opinions, leave them down below. Have a great weekend, and I hope that I will catch you back here for more action from the shop.